In today's video, we're going to talk about responding to a debt collector lawsuit. One of the most frequently asked questions that I get on YouTube, emailed, or live chat is people say that their response is not being taken serious by the plaintiff or the debt collection attorney, and also that it just seems like they're not paying attention to anything that they do, that they turn in uh, for their response to a debt collection lawsuit. When I review what people have done, it's like they've taken little bitty pieces of stuff of information that they've either gathered from the internet, gathered from other videos that people have made on how to fight debt collector lawsuits, and it's like they just threw it at the wall and was like, this should stick. And here's the crazy thing about it is that the information that they more than likely used was credible for what they were asking, but the problem was it was out of order. So what I mean by it was out of order was when you are sued by a debt collector, you have to respond a certain way. There's a process. If you go outside of that process, you're going to lose by default. Just like, let's just, I know how we get when the finger seems to be pointed at us, where it's like some of the times we say we did the right things and we know deep down inside we didn't do the right thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a story about how it is for someone else, so it won't be pointed at you if you made this mistake. When a debt collector chooses to sue you for a debt that they purchased, or even the original creditor chooses to sue you for a debt that has been charged off, and they hire an attorney to sue you, they have to put together documents a certain way to be able to even file the case. Like, they can't just walk up there and say, hey, John owes $5,000 and I want to file this case. They have to do it the way that the process is set up, and they have to format the information the way that the process requires it. They have to file it the way that the process, and when I say the process, the court process. So everything has to be done the right way to even file the case. Now, I'm not getting into if they file the documents that are required. That's for another video. I'm just talking about the bottom line is that they are going through the process to be able to file these cases in court. If they were not even going through the minimum processes, none of the cases would even be able to be filed. So now that gets to where you are probably at, and where most people who come to me with this problem, where they feel that they're just being disregarded by the court, they're just being disregarded by the plaintiff attorney, and they're asking for credible information to be sent to them and nothing is being done. It's because they're out of order with the process, or you are out of order with the process. So let's go through the process. If you are being sued by a debt collector, attorney for the plaintiff, who is the original creditor, or an attorney who is for the plaintiff, who is a third-party debt collector who purchased your debt, it does not matter. You still have to respond to that court summons, and it's usually within 15 to 20, sometimes 30, but it's mostly 15 to 20 days. That's part of the process. If you fail that process, you will get a default judgment. And then you're just going to make it a lot harder, an uphill battle, because when you get a default judgment, the first fight that you have to do is you have to fight to even be able to get the case reopened. And there's certain things that have to work in your favor to even be able to get the case reopened, or they might just say denied and leave it as a default judgment. So process number one is that you got to respond to the debt collector lawsuit. Like, don't play games with this. I have plenty of people say that they were served at their door. They just dropped it off at the doorstep and they felt that that wasn't service. or they tried to serve them and then they walked away with the documents. I'm here to tell you, and you can look this up. Some states don't allow it, but the majority of the states are allowing this to happen. If they prove that the attempted service, and then they go and publish your name on the internet, publish your name in a printed publication sometimes. Mostly it's just the internet. Just put it on a publication that is on the internet that is widely known in your area. They will have all that it takes for proof of service. And then they can take that to the court, that paid advertisement with your name saying that you're being summoned to court. Take that. They have to run it sometimes 2 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks. Take it to the court, show them that. Or maybe they don't even have to do that sometimes. Sometimes they just have to show proof of service that they paid a server to go to your address. And that's it. They could just drop it off at the doorstep. And then that's proof of service. You missed the deadline of the 15 to 20 days. Boom, they get a default judgment against you. Now, let's say that you want to be ahead of this. You want to have a chance of winning. The next part of the process is to respond to that court summons. And now we're about to go into something that you need to do when I talk about being in order, because a lot of people are out of order when if you do it the way that I'm about to tell you, you will be in order. So the first thing you need to do is you have to write a response to the debt collector summons, and it needs to be in a certain format. Some judges don't care about the format too much, but why give them the option to just dismiss your response solely over the formatting of the paperwork that you submitted? So first thing we want to pay attention to is we want to answer all of the allegations that they allege in their summons complaint against you. That's number one. You can't, it doesn't matter how ticky-tack, it does not matter if it's something about your address, it does not matter. You have to answer those. If you leave them unanswered, you are already in a way making it harder for yourself. And so you're going to have to answer either that you admit, that you deny, or not enough information to admit or deny. The next thing and you're going to have to do that all the way through their allegations. You got to answer them all. The next thing after you finish answering all of the allegations is you need to set up an affirmative defense. Now, there's plenty of people out here talking about how to do an affirmative defense or how to defend yourself. They're saying to do all of these different things. I'm going to tell you that from experience, the number one thing that you got to pay attention to is, and it's just like how someone says something to you one way and you're like, okay, yeah, that was pretty nice, and then somebody says it another way and it seems pretty harsh, but they could be saying the same thing. When you are writing your affirmative defense, you need to write it a certain way to where, number one, the plaintiff understands what you're asking and the judge understands what you're asking. But the way that you need to write it is in an informational type manner. So let's say this. If I was to walk up to you and give you a paper and I said that you owe $5,000 and I have the contract, I got everything to prove that you owe $5,000. And how would you defend yourself against that? What is the first thing that you would say, especially if I was like a credit card company attorney coming to sue you? What is the first thing that most of these videos and stuff out here tell you to say? They just say you don't owe it, to just deny it, outright deny it. That's a way of being very abrasive with your answer. Number one, they have information to show that you did have the account at a certain period of time. They have proof of that most of the time, or they have some proof of it most of the time. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to make it like you're just trying to run from something. What you want to do is you want to make your case all about proof. everything about proof. Say, hey, I had this account, but I need all of these documents to be able to, number one, prove this amount that you're alleging that I owe. But number two, there's a set of documents that you're required, if I ask for them, that you need to give those to me so I can make sure that I'm making the right decision on, even if for whatever I decide to consider with this. And that is my right as a consumer, and that is your requirement as a debt collection lawyer. If I request it, you have to go to your client and you have to get those documents. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to ask for documents of contract with our signature. Next thing that we want to do is we want to ask, and we got to do it a certain way, but basically we want to ask them about how they are able to handle your personal private information. Next thing that we want to do is we want to get complete account numbers. You have a right to get a complete account number. Next thing we want to do is we want to ask them to prove how they came up with the amount that they claim you owe, that they allege you owe in the court summons. Everything. If it's a credit card, you want debit charges, you want regular charges, you want PIN code charges, you want disputes, rewards, interest rates, you want everything. You want to review it all. But if you notice for asking that, is that abrasive? Is that where you're just trying to avoid and evade? No, you're trying to get more information so you can determine what's going to be your next step for you, and that is your right to be able to get that. Next thing is that if it's a third-party debt collector who purchases a debt, you want to get some type of documentation that shows that the whole entire portfolio that they purchased did not have any errors in there. There's a statement that they give you when they purchase a debt, and there's going to be a guarantee in there. If there's no guarantee that there's no errors in that portfolio, then you want them to specify, have some sort of document specifying that what they're alleging that you owe, that there was no errors with it. Now, they'll try to come back with some stuff on you with that, but that doesn't matter. You want them to prove, because they're coming to you saying that you owe this amount of money, so get all of the documents to say that I owe that amount of money, especially when you don't have a guarantee from the original creditor that you purchased the debt from, that whole portfolio has no errors in it. Next thing is you want to make sure that there was no 1099-C filed by the original creditor or any other debt collector who had their hands on that debt, because if there is a 1099-C filed, you're going to get that 1 or 2 years later, and you're going to be required to file taxes on that income, potentially, if you don't qualify for a waiver. So you want them to state that, because if they did file a 1099-C and for whatever reason you end up losing your case, you get garnished or you pay for a settlement, you will be able to get that money back if that document comes showing up. And from what we've seen, some of the times it could take up to 1 to 2 years. So why not get it in writing? They got everything else that they claim in writing from the original creditor. Why not get it in writing from them that they didn't file a 1099-C? It sometimes will take a lot of work to be able to get a judge to get them to do that. But if you push hard and you give the reasons why, remember, we're not about evading. If you give good reasons why and you write it out in your response, the reason why, you're going to be able to get some action on that. The next thing is that whenever a debt collector sues you in court, they are required to first give you, to submit a demand letter stating that if there is no resolution, we're going to take you to court. That document is supposed to be attached to the summons. That needs to be in that package. Also, the bill of sale needs to be in that package if they purchased it from a third-party debt collector. The bill of sale and a letter of conformity that shows that all documents were transferred the appropriate way to that debt collector. And if any other debt collectors were in that chain, like for example, for the one I'm using right here, Resurgent Acquisition LLC actually sold the debt to LVNV Funding. You want to know everything that Resurgent did. And then this would be like a fourth party debt collector, because LVNV Funding purchased it from another debt collector. Some of the times we've seen it to where multiple debt collectors were in there. When you see multiple debt collectors lined up on your bill of sale, what you want to do is you want to question, everything about each one of them. You want to know the reason why they were able to handle your information for all of them. I know it might sound redundant, but you want to make sure, because what if the first debt collector purchased it and then the second debt collector got it, but they had no documentation to prove that they were able to handle any of your information. So you want to see how the paperwork is transferred. That's what they call conformity. All debt collectors, when they purchase these debts, they have to get that letter of conformity. You need to read that letter, because it could look a little bit fake, or it could look a little bit fake. It's not supposed to be fake, but it could have some problems on there to where it looks like they kind of added some things to make it look better for the judge. The next thing is you want to get a document that shows on the bill of sale your specific name on that bill of sale from the original creditor. Because if they're just saying that you're included in a portfolio and they have no proof of really showing that you were included in that portfolio other than a statement and the last 4 digits of an account number, that's not going to be good enough. But it's not good enough. The only way it becomes good enough is if you don't question it. So if you need help and you have a debt collector trying to sue you in court, original creditor or third-party debt collector, go to my website, thecreditrepairshop.com. In the bottom right corner under live chat, click there, upload a copy of your summons, upload your phone number, and we will contact you and let you know how we can help you. If you need help with your credit, please visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch video What Makes Us Different, so you can see my 8-point validation process, my 2-phase settlement process. If you need your credit reports and scores, go to the website your3scores.com to grab your TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian credit reports and all 3 scores. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your time. This is Stephen A. Williams, President and Founder of thecreditrepairshop.com.